Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Josh from Cemetery Sun, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
Congratulations, first of all, with your signing with Velocity Records. This record label, I was so excited when they came back and they announced all these new artists, Scary Kids, Scaring Kids being one of the main ones that I was super excited about. And then now your band, Cemetery Sun. So congratulations with that signing. How did this kind of happen for you guys?
Well, first of all, thank you. Yeah, and thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. You know, this kind of goes back actually to preliminary, I should say, those days when we were kind of starting to take off with an EP we did before everything got shut down. And we were looking for a partner, and we weren't really sure which direction we wanted to go back then. But then when things shut down, we obviously worked on a record, and the more we developed that, and I should say the more it developed us, I guess, we found ourselves in talks with Dave. And then as time progressed and, touring started opening back up and we started being able to actually have a tangible plan, it made sense for us to partner up and see where we could take it over the next couple of years, So that's kind of how it all came to fruition, so to speak.
That's awesome, dude. And I know you guys have a more recent song out right now, but I want to talk about Miseries Company just because this song is still like on repeat for me. It hit me in the face like immediately after pressing play on it, and it still does it every single time. So take me to the studio, the creative process of this song in particular, and like what was it like creating this song, but also being able to create it like pretty much in your own home studio?
It was, so we write in a variety of ways. This song in particular, Matt Scarpelli, our guitarist, he had the intro riff, and we were like, this is catchy, this is super cool. He was messing around with some new tones, and I don't know, we're all guitarists, so we just geek out together over that stuff. And it just made sense. I don't know, I heard a break beat over it. I think it was Elliot or I don't know which one of us even heard it, but we just started laying down layers, you know what I mean? Having a home studio is such a benefit nowadays because you're not reliant on waiting to go record. You can just go press record, right? So we get together weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, for the duration of pretty much every Wednesday at the very least. And this was one of those get-togethers, and he had that ready, so we just started running with it. And I wanted to do something differently on this album than I had vocally on all of our, songs in the past, which was just add a little bit more grit, to my voice, and almost reach back to the days when we were all in metal bands and really just accentuate those vibes, but not make it metalcore, just make it rock, And that lead, again, it just, like you said, when you press play, the lead's like, okay. And then when that beat hits, it's like, let's go. You know what I mean? It's a good first song to release. And it's actually how we're going to be opening up probably most of our sets in the near future too. It's too damn fun.
The fact that you're opening up with that one means that there's so many more that are going to be even crazier. So that's super exciting, especially because these tours are coming around. Now, this was the first song that you guys released alongside the announcement of Velocity Records. And you're right, that grit, it's so different from Fake Love. It's so different from Piece of Shit and all the other stuff that you've done before. What was that process like learning to sing the way that you did with this track?
Wow, it's a great question. No one's asked me that ever, actually, and I appreciate it so much because it wasn't learning to do it. It was being confident enough to do it, because singing like I do is very taxing. And I mean, that also has to do with my vocal range. There's some guys who can sing a lot higher and a lot harder at that. But I was always like, you're a cliche kid, like Linkin Park fan, love Chester's vocals. And I just thought, that's actually what got me into singing in the first place. That, and I had no friends that could. So I ended up just being kind of back in those days when I was like 15, like the fall guy, I was like, oh, I guess I have to sing, you know? So I may as well get okay at it so that I don't like embarrass myself and, you know, my family name and all that. Right. But, like, I know. But truthfully, it was pulling that angst I had when I was a kid and just being unafraid to do it. Cause there's so much like research now on, you know, what happens if you sing too hard or the right way versus the wrong way. And I was always too afraid to push myself to those limits. So I finally found a method for me that works. I've worked with several coaches. I've worked on even, you know, just coaching myself and just like getting my mind game strong, my head in the right place with all this. And I think that's what allowed me to do it. And it's been transcendent in many songs on this record that's about to come out. And you'll see what I'm talking about. We didn't completely abandon the old style, but I just really wanted to push the limit, you know?
With this newfound, discovery for you on your vocals, would you say that kind of changed or impacted in a way like the writing process for the upcoming new material? Like, do you consider that grit a lot more than, I mean, obviously you didn't think about it before, but like, do you consider it a lot more on every track that you write?
Yeah. Well, because it's me, you know? It just takes me back to like 5 or 10 years ago when I was doing just other stuff, like, again, more along the lines of metal. It's just who I am. And so I'm actually more comfortable with everything we're writing now. I have to admit, and I mean, some people might like hate that I say this, but it's like the first few years of this band, just like when we were in our exploration phase, I should call it, right? I just never felt truly at home with any of like the material vocally. Fake Love would be the close thing where we still pull like little Easter eggs out of that, and you'll hear the correlation in sound. But I never really truly felt at home doing just alternative pop, you know. And but I thought that there would be like, you know, more longevity with stuff like that. So I feel like I found a middle ground now where, you know, I feel comfortable. I get to sing like hard rock vocals, like, you know, influenced from bands like, you know, Sum 41 and LP, like Linkin Park, and other bands that are in those lanes. But like, we didn't walk away from the, you know, ambiance of our music before either. So it kind of creates this new blend. I hope it's new. I mean, everything's a new version of something else that was already done, right? So I just think that this is our way of making that us, you know, and stepping into that stride has been a lot of fun. It's definitely impacted how we've written, to your point and question. And it's made it a lot easier. It's like quite effortless now, actually. It's odd.
The fact that you mentioned all that and then this newer single, IDNUA, which I'm not sure if I'm even saying it right. I don't know if there's like a different way to say it, but you brought Matt Squire for this track, and which is something that, like, for someone that listens to a lot of like the pop punk, a lot of like the bands that we look up to, yeah, like Matt Squire is the reason for those artists. So bringing Matt Squire to this new single, how did that kind of improved the creative process of the band? And, you know, how was it like in the recording process? Like, did you guys feel like it was just a natural progression with Matt Squire, or did you guys feel like once again you were being able to step out of your comfort zone because Matt Squire did whatever Matt Squire does?
For us, it was a demo we already had like demoed, right? It had a rough draft, and it had like, it wasn't, I wanted to take it up. Like, it was like, I remember when he came in, because we actually did this over the phone. I still haven't even had the pleasure of shaking his hand and just like introducing myself in person, but he's already like someone I consider a friend. But I can just call him and we can just chat music, and he's just so passionate and just matches our energy. So we said, hell, let's hop on a like 3-hour Zoom or Skype session with a track that we're working on. And he just took my melody and pushed it harder. You know what I mean? There's more variation with all of it now. It's more fun and easy to listen to. I was a little bit more monotone with it before because I was unsure. It was like right in this pocket or on this ridge of, do I sing higher and I'm like dying the whole time and like hoping I'm like hitting it? Or do I just play it safe and in the pocket? And he found a way. He was like, yo, Josh, try like just accentuating a couple of the notes, like just raise a couple of them so that you can give that grit, that punch, without killing yourself the whole chorus. And then what he also did after that was, instead of relying on that just to be the chorus, we wrote a post chorus together. And it's the part that goes, I don't need you anymore, which is the acronym of the song itself, IDNUA, I don't need you anymore. And that just took the song to a whole new level. Everything else made sense. The arrangement was like kind of already there. And my verses were cool, and I didn't want to change any of that. But bringing him in, it just proved a great point that, like, yes, we have fun doing things DIY, but with the right person, it can make the song so much better. And Matt Squire, I have to give him so much credit for, and thanks for coming in and helping us work on that. I can't wait to work on more with him. We're in talks about doing a song from scratch and whatnot. So hopefully that can all come to the table here in the next few months.
Is that the one-off song that you guys worked with him for this upcoming album, or was there another track that you guys got to collaborate as well?
Yeah, that was the only track on this album. I mean, we did most of the, I don't know if you're going to ask this later, but we did do most of the record in-house. Like I would say like 80, just us. You know, I work really hard on the writing, and Matt and Elliot do as well. And we all kind of co-produce, and those two are just like fantastic with tones and engineering and production. So we have kind of a dream team when it comes to what you would be looking for, like in house, right? But it's like doing it all in house. You don't get the outside perspective that someone like Matt gets when he says, hey, you guys are great. Have you thought of this? You know, and it's not like I have to change your music. It's like, have you thought of that? And like every now and then those ideas, like they pique your interest and you try it and it's like, damn, that's awesome, you know? And so I'm looking forward to doing something that's like more of a collaboration, or what some would call a co-write, or just have him produce an entire track for us. I just think that'd be so much fun, you know?
Now, I know you mentioned like the grit was where you stepped out of your comfort zone this time around. But as far as the other two members, like, how do you feel that they stepped out during the creative process of the entire album?
What? Wow. For Elliot, he's been in the production aspect of things the longest. Matt spent the last few years really warming up to it and honestly just mastering what he's got. I mean, you want to do guitars, that's the guy. That guy's just insane at what he's been able to do with tone, and then also with like his drums and different like packages that he's explored in Ableton. And it kind of just, we had to figure out each other's roles, right? Because this kind of like delegated roles for each of us different than we were used to before. And for me, not being really an engineer, being just like a songwriter and kind of like producing over their shoulder, you know, as we go. We had to figure out like what each of them are going to do, you know, because like it could just as easily be a conflict of interest as it could be complementary, right? And they totally found the balance. I don't know how to like give you a really definitive answer, other than they just really stepped up and kept swinging the bat. And once we started getting hit after hit, you know, all we had to do was keep those bases loaded with songs. And, you know, one after another, they came home. And now we have a 10-song album with like 15 other songs that didn't make it, you know, just because we found that formula, found that rhythm, and because they stepped up and just kept swinging that bat with me.
I feel like because you found that formula and you guys have that kind of synergy between the three of you, I feel like it makes it hard bringing anybody else into this baby that you guys are about to release. So what was the reason behind getting Lil Lotus on Heartbreak Kid, and why did you guys feel like he fit perfectly for this vision that you guys had for the album?
So Lotus, it was super cool because Matt Scarpelli from our band had known him from like just, you know, bouncing back and forth from LA through a couple other friends that we have. And basically we just kind of thought it would sound cool. Like we wanted to differentiate one of the songs vocally, and being that it's our first album, and honestly, let's just be straight here. The world doesn't even know what's going on yet. They don't even, like, we're not that household name yet. And like, I love that because it gives us an opportunity to really be picky about which statement to make a statement of a feature or to make our statement. And we had a few people say, oh, you should do it on one of your heavier songs on the album. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I kind of want to like keep that for me just on this first record, you know, and then we can snowball that. But we'd already done some of this pop alternative stuff, and Lotus is just killing it. And we had a kick-ass time hanging out in LA. That was like hella fun to just like, we didn't even like talk about this song that much down there. We were doing other stuff. It's just, he's just like a cool cat to go hang with and work on some music with. And it's all good energy and vibes. And, but we're all super stoked to release the song with him. And we just thought he was such a good fit. There's like a variance in the vocal tone and the song. It just felt right. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm assuming you've heard it then.
Not yet, but yeah. It stuck out to me just because, you know, it is your debut album. So it's like, I feel like there's bands that either don't want to have any features on the debut, or they're obviously extra careful on who's going to be featured.
It just worked, dude. I mean, we had a few people in mind, but like, you know, when shit just works in life, it's like, you know, and also don't fix something that's not broken, you know? Like, I just felt like with just me on that track, I loved it, but I didn't, like, it still could use something. And when we heard the first cut of his vocal on that, I was like, no brainer, man. Justin Bieber said it best. You know, like, it just worked. And I, you know, I hope that we do another collaboration at some point too, because he has like If I Die First out now. And like, there's some other like avenues we can go down, or maybe do something in a different genre at some point. But yeah, all love to Lotus. That was a fun track. And I can't wait for you to hear it. It's definitely on the poppier side. It's not a heavy song. We didn't want to start there, you know? We wanted to do a feature on something that people would maybe have expected from us on a prior album. And as we get their feet wet with everything that we're doing now and the direction we're actually moving, which is going to be more in the rock direction, you know, or like pop rock. I don't know what you'd call it.
Right. Now, I love that you guys are going from literally being on your couch, for example, for the past 2 years to now going on 2 tours back to back. And the fact that you mentioned that Miseries Company is pretty much the first song that you guys are going to open up with. For you personally as the vocalist, like now that the grit is added, I feel like now there's more cardio that is involved with that grit and the new way of singing. So how are you prepping for this upcoming tour, and what can your fans look forward to on these upcoming tours?
Great question. Again, yeah, dude, all these questions have been awesome. Thank you. You know, going on tour is just so different than being at home, right? I mean, wow, doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. But I will say, you know, night 1 is very different than night 4. And I'm not, you know, I know there's a lot of people who have toured so much more than me, and I have a lot to learn about the long game still, because, you know, your voice will have good nights, it'll have bad nights. But you always need to make sure that it comes across with the right attitude, confidence, and respect for your music, you know? So even if it's like a tough day, one thing I've learned to do is I have basically a set A, B, and C. And some sets I pick in a couple of safe notes where it doesn't take away from the song, you know, because I hate it when I go to see something and the singer ducks the note that I want to hear. So I've tried to keep that as intact as possible, even on a hard day for me. Another thing I've done is worked with, and I don't want to say like trained or coached, they're my boys and they know what they're doing. But I spent some time just like building the confidence with Matt and Elliot to step in alongside me to where we have, you know, 3 vocalists instead of just 1. That way, if I have to drop a line, they got it. And we discussed that before each show, you know? So when we were in tour rehearsals this last weekend, you know, the first night was like a lot. I was screaming, singing, everything for like 3 hours, you know, 3.5, 4 hours even, I think by the time we were done. And the next night hurt, right? Didn't hurt, like I was fine, but it's like, it just, I could feel the wear, you know what I mean? It's like work out too hard at the gym one day and the next day you're like, damn, it's sore, right? And so Elliot in particular on some of the songs stepped up and sang a lot of the background vocals. And we just had a discussion of like, hey, if this is on tour, what do we do? You know what I mean? There has to be a backup plan. We can't miss a line, and we can't dilute our experience for people just because we're feeling, you know, maybe subpar one day. And so he helped balance that out with me on the second night. The third night, because we did that on the second night, I came back in and smashed it better than both nights. So it's just one of those things where finding your balance, your ebb and your flow with all that, and having friends and bandmates around you that can truly support you and help you become better, so important. And I know that we're going to take that attitude, mentality, and habit on the road with us.
Amazing, dude. Well, congratulations with the signing, the new releases, and I can't wait for this record to drop. And hopefully I'll be catching you guys at the Echo, which is this month in a couple of weeks, actually. So I'm looking forward to that. And, you know, hopefully we can reconnect and do this again. And again, dude, congratulations with the new music, the new way of doing your vocals. And I'm looking forward to more from you guys.
Rob, no, I'm super stoked, and I think take some time again, and I'll look forward to seeing you in LA. You'll be there, I'm hoping. So hit us up, let us know what's going on. Look forward to meeting you face to face.